Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 79 of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, alongside Jim Wexell. But never mind Jim for today. We have Mr. Mark Kaboly with us from The Athletic. I love you, Jim. President of the Pittsburgh chapter of the Pro Football Writers of America. Mark, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
I just have to correct you a little bit there. I got impeached about last year, so that's Joe Rudder right now.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'm the emeritus, I guess.
Okay.
Well, it was like, what's the guy on Seinfeld? Morty.
Yeah, I know. I get at the end, right?
To correct Mark, Mark's funny. He wasn't impeached. I mean, I wasn't asked to vote, so I don't know anything about an impeachment. But I think your term just expired, didn't it?
Yeah, I called Joe Rudder now Gerald Ford because he was appointed vice president. Then Del Lawley couldn't do it because he took the Steelers job, so he was appointed president. So somehow he got elected president without being elected at all. So he's Gerald Ford, Joe Rudder.
Awesome. See, these are the nuggets you get here on the Insider. But down to business. The Steelers have just an awful loss this weekend to the Houston Texans, 30-6. And just when we thought it couldn't get worse than that San Francisco 49ers game, they do one better with just an abysmal performance. And gentlemen, where do we even start here by picking this thing apart?
Wow, me. I mean, be honest with you, I think we all expected the offense to struggle to the degree. I wasn't really expecting the defense to be able to just, not stop anything. I mean, we're talking about a rookie quarterback in Stroud. Okay, he's pretty good, but it's not like he's done it for more than a game or two. So how they were so easily moving the ball up and down that turf and that field and scoring at will and out scheming, and looks like they were one step ahead of him is one that surprised me the most, especially with that offensive line so banged up. I thought they were going to be able to get some pressure. So I start with the defense, even though everybody likes to talk about the offense. I was disappointed in the defense more than probably anything else.
Yeah, the defense has its flaws, and I think Houston attacked them. The interior guys, as much as Montravius Adams has been getting penetration the last couple of weeks, almost intercepted that handoff against the Raiders, he jumps around the center. So a lot of times he can be pushed clean out of there. And Ogunjobi's never been a run stuffer. So you got those two up there, and then you've got the middle linebackers just aren't doing it. I mean, it took Landon Roberts half a game to get in a groove. He got gashed wide. He got two things I thought Kendrick Green could do well when he was here. One is block downfield and hustle downfield. The other was play fullback. And boy, the Steelers could have used that on 4th and 1, and that screen in the middle to start the game.
Yeah.
Kendrick Green got out on a Landon Roberts and just Cole Holcomb, just bullied him and knocked him to the ground, and it went for a distance. And so they attacked the middle, and then that opened things up outside, and they have some good tall receiver. Nico Collins, a good receiver.
So I didn't see that coming. I know he had a good week 1, Jim, but I didn't think he was that good. I mean, they made him look like a Pro Bowler.
They did.
Yeah, so definitely the poor run defense trend continues from week 1, but didn't anticipate that to occur against the Texans. But you're right, and I just wanted to kind of zero in on this a little bit for all the criticism that Kendrick Green took while in Pittsburgh. The irony of him going to Houston and, like you said, Jim, playing bully ball where they just really ran all over us. But Mark, to your point too, we knew that the offense would struggle, but we didn't think the defense would struggle this bad, especially too. People were calling for sack records by the edge rushers, but they were non-existent too. What do you think contributed to Highsmith and Watt not showing up on the stat sheet in terms of sacks?
Probably over aggressiveness, right? I mean, they read the clips too. They know there's George Fant who's 562 years old and whoever that other tackle was, had 39 career snaps. They're figuring they're going to be able to get after the quarterback as well. And it played right into their scheme. I mean, let them get upfield and get behind him with some of the screen passes. I haven't seen that many screen passes since the 80 Steelers or something. That seems like that's a lost art almost to run that play. It's not an easy play. It's a lot of timing there. So I think they just use their ability against them right there. And you always have to be careful of the quarterback who can get out of the pocket as well. Even though he didn't do much of that, he was able to throw on the run at all. So I just think it was, I hate to put it all on coaching, but they just had a great scheme. They had a great plan, Houston, and they absolutely followed it to a T. And I think, when you have great coaches, or at least innovative coaches, that's the type of situations you get, what you saw in Houston.
Mark, I'm sure you've interviewed Bobby Slowick's dad.
I am not sure.
Bob Slowick is a Baldwin High graduate.
Okay.
And we all, those of us who worked for the PG zones all had to do the Bob Slowick story at one time.
It might have been before my time a little bit. I don't recall him at all.
The kid was born in New Jersey and went to school in Green Bay, so he was following the nomad father who was who's now in Montreal Alouettes defensive coordinator. So, he has a football background. It's not all just Pro Football Focus that raised Bobby Slowick. So he has a coaching background and did a great job. Like you said, with those screens were beautiful, beautifully timed. We don't see that in Pittsburgh. We see screens to a tight end for -6 yards.
Yeah. You don't see that much. That middle screen you said early in the game, I think that set a tone where those edge guys are thinking, I got to be careful here. I just can't go all out here. So it's a great, great scheme. And you have to think that, other teams might follow that suit. I'm not quite sure how well the Ravens run the screen game. I don't think they do. But,
why not?
What the Ravens do, and this, Jim, they run that outside zone. They like that stretch play, and if you're out of your gap, and you're screwed. So they're going to have to be gap sound this week as well, or you're going to get gashed in the run game as well.
Well, they have a history of not being gap sound, but against the Ravens, they do fairly well. And I expect a bounce back. But just one point about the outside linebackers. Stroud got rid of the ball so quickly. I don't understand why there's not more press man coverage with those pass rushers. It should work hand in hand, especially with Joey Porter Jr. And that's one easy move that can be made after the bye.
You saw last night, Jim, Devin Weatherspoon and how much he took over a game. I know he was more of a, what was he, top 5, top 10 pick, a little bit higher pedigree than Porter, but that's the type of play is potential, I guess, there with Joey Porter. So, I don't think they do a lot of press man because I don't know if they trust Patrick Peterson's legs anymore. I don't know.
Well, you drafted Joey, you got those edge rushers. You can't let a quick throwing quarterback. That's why he wasn't sacked. And I will say this about the outside linebackers. They did potentially make a difference. When TJ, JJ was announcing and TJ rushed the quarterback into the intentional grounding on third down, I believe the score was 16-3. They got the ball back, then made it 16-6. And then the next series, after J.J. Watt said this defense will be juiced after what TJ did, and they were. Alex rushed a third down incompletion. The Steelers get the ball back. So I think the offensive still were influential, potentially trying to get this team back in the game, but the Steelers' offense just refused.
Well, the coach didn't help much either, going for it, or at least making that play call when it could have been a one-possession game at 16-9. I don't know how you don't take it at that point. You know what I'm saying? You make it a one-possession game rather than going, shotgun and rolling to your left and whatever happened. And when Kenny got hurt, that's just a weird play call, in my opinion. You go one possession, which with one possession, anything can happen. You're in the game. I thought that's coaching 101, but I guess not.
Well, he thought the spot was closer and he called timeout. That was per your question, Mark.
Yeah, but my question was, well, what about the play call? That was a
yes,
stupid play
that's what
call.
I thought.
He
Evaded.
He evaded it. That was my question. What about the stupid play call?
but the thing was, after the timeout, when he saw that it was a full yard, maybe a little plus, kick the field goal then.
Yep.
If you don't have the confidence in Najee, I mean, he's your big bruiser back, and that's what he's there for. Oh man!
Plus, he was running the ball with so much conviction in that third quarter too.
He was.
I mean, I would much rather give him that opportunity. I was thinking it was going to be one of those Najee over the top type things that he always stinks at, but this was even worse. This was even worse than that.
Yeah. So that was a perfect transition to talk about the offense, the weird play calling. I think that you referenced it, but the elephant in the room here, Matt Canada, Steelers Nation calling for his firing, but we know that that's more than likely not going to happen, if anything, at the end of the year. But what do we attribute? Just I'm at a loss for critical words here to describe this offense. But what do we attribute this poor performances consistently to?
You want to take this one, Jim? I don't know.
I mean, you have to look at the coordinator. I know the quarterback's not playing that well, but you have to look at the coordinator. It's, as Tomlin said last week in his press conference, it's not well coordinated. I mean, I look at some of the plays that blew up. Darnell Washington would come across to handle a guy who was unblocked, an edge player who was unblocked, like Hughes, and he would miss the block. It looks like they have to execute every single assignment perfectly to get what Canada wants done. The screens are abysmal, and the 4th and 1s, the 3rd and 1s. There's no rhyme or reason. There's nothing. It's thoughtfully non-rhythmic, and it should be thoughtfully rhythmic. Really, I've had enough of thoughtfully non-rhythmic. Let's stop surprising people.
I think they should get back to the basics. I mean, hit the guy in front of you, move him off the ball, run the ball, easy passes. Other teams run like 5-6 yard big routes to make it 2nd and 5. I don't think it should be that complicated to put yourself in 2nd and manageable and 3rd and short. And I don't know the numbers on it, but I'm sure the 1st and 9s and the 1st and 12s and the 2nd and 8s are out of control with this team. And I think that's probably where it starts at. Once you get in that position, this offense isn't really – I mean, they're missing some people. I mean, I think Deontay's hurting more than we might think, because I don't think George is quite ready to handle that double coverage constantly. So I think a lot of, bad 1st and 2nd down plays leads to Kenny having to make a play on 3rd downs, and he just hasn't been accurate. He hasn't making the right decisions. He's been skittish. All the things that we did not see from February to like August or September, all of a sudden comes together at once, and Kenny turns into a below average quarterback. I never saw that coming, to be honest with you. I would think that old Kenny's still in there somewhere, but he's going to need to find it quickly, because I didn't see this coming, because everything that we saw him do in the offseason, he's just not doing it.
I don't understand why there's not. I mean, Calvin Austin has established himself as a deep threat. Now, why can't he do more crossing patterns, more ends, more short stuff, like you're suggesting? It doesn't always. And Pickens is getting double covered.
Yep.
So why not some short stuff to Austin or Connor Hayward?
That's the one right there.
That he's a niche player, and they worked him all training camp as a niche player, and he has great hands. He might have the best hands on the team. He's sticky fingered, man. So
they haven't found a place for him at all, and it's a shame that they haven't found a place for him. They might need to find a place for him now with Freiermuth out for a while, but it's just I don't know. I don't know what you need to get this offense going right now. I mean, I would like to see. I don't know the specifics, but I would like to see, like every other quarterback in the world, have 2 play calls in the huddle, a run play and a pass play, and say, Kenny, count the box. It's not that difficult. I failed algebra like 5 times, and I could count the blocks and be able to tell you to run or throw the ball. Is that difficult? But I don't think they allow them to do that.
Well, you didn't have to figure out what X was.
Yeah.
It's just you could just count.
Well, you got the X receiver and the Y. I still screw those up.
Okay.
And the Z's and the whatever, all those other stuffs. But
so
I don't know.
Let me add this, Jeremy. Let me add this. And I know nobody wants to hear it, but I saw this as a bad spot. I predicted a loss. It's a terrible spot. And nobody wants to hear about this in the NFL, but NFL handicapping throughout my lifetime has been half is the physical nature of the team, and the other half is the emotional situation the team is in. Still, while I hear the sports talk hosts raving about how the Steelers could look so bad, then they're talking about how the Jets can look so good one week and so bad the next week. And they don't seem to mesh it all together. That this was a really bad spot for the Steelers. Just one theory is watch, and you can go back and count, and I haven't counted in a while, but it used to be a theory I'd always look at for Monday night teams. You win on Monday night and you win the next week, go against that team the following week because it's sustained emotion. And those were 2 emotional games for the Steelers, and a long trip west and a flight delay. And I tell you, Mark, I know we're not supposed to talk about practice, but they are so different after a win or 2 wins. You watch the chatter this week. They'll be talking and yelling, and it'll be coming off an embarrassing loss type of chatter to practice week. Why isn't that sustained every week?
I don't know. I who probably be leading that way is the head coach too.
Right.
Once he feels like that they need something, he's up there, up everybody's rear end, getting them fired up. It's not like he doesn't always do it, but it's like takes that to the next level. It's tough. I mean, you see the practice. I mean, there's not much physical stuff going on. A lot of it is the mental stuff and the getting ready type of stuff and paying attention stuff. So, yeah, you're right. They're probably going to be a chatter, and they're probably going to play one of their better games against the Ravens. That's just how it is.
Well, another handicapping theory is if you lose by more than 14 points over the point spread, look for a bounce back. And you do see that emotional bounce back routinely. And people are going to be talking next week about how they can't sustain it. But that's just the nature of the NFL. Yes, it's, the teams of the 70s and even those teams of the aughts, they had the ability to sustain that emotion. They were self-starters. They had great talent. And just because that great talent isn't there anymore, it shouldn't be mocked and ridiculed right now, because that makes that great talent less great. I mean, there's a reason those Hines Ward and James Ferrier and those guys were great. They had that inside. And these guys aren't showing.
I was going to say, next time, Jim, put this in your notebook. Next time they have like an 8-hour flight delay on their plane, pick against them. Write that in your notebook. We stay on the tarmac for 8 hours. I'm picking against them the next week.
Well, how many hours did they stay on the tarmac this week?
2. I thought it was a couple hours. I thought it was 2 hours.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure what happened, but I haven't heard about that yet. But it was at least a couple hours.
So, Jim, if I'm hearing you correctly, this team is not as bad as we think they are, and they're obviously not as good as they think they are. There's an opportunity for them to rebound here.
Absolutely. I mean, they're playing statistically worse than the first 4 games of last year. But last year they were 1-3 against weaker competition. This year they're 2-2 against stronger competition. So they got a game break, even though they're playing poorly. And I expect a big time effort this week. And with the Ravens looming was part of that emotional flat spot in the schedule against a rookie quarterback. I don't know if everyone around here still thinks Dick LeBeau is coordinating the defense, but they don't own rookie quarterbacks anymore like they used to. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's an assessment of rookie quarterbacks now who come out are much better prepared. Yeah. But anyway, so those are some of my theories, and I don't know, Mark.
I think what you need, Jim, I think if you look last year, when did they get better? When that offensive line started playing better in the second half. I think that's been a pretty major disappointment. I don't think Seumalo's been playing as well as he probably was billed. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just getting used to people, if he's hurt. I don't know what it is. If that line's able to gel together like it did last year, and it's a similar offensive line. It should be better, right? I think that's the key. You get that going, then everything else falls into place. If you're able to get Hayward back, you're able to get Deontay back, Freiermuth back, then you have a schedule that's – I'm not a big schedule guy because that changes weekly, but you do look at it and it's not daunting, at least until the last 3 weeks of the season. Or 2 now. I forgot the Bengals stink.
Yeah. Well, pivotal game coming up this weekend against the Ravens. It's going to be highly emotional, and it's an opportunity for them to get some of the stench off them from this past loss and then go into the bye week, regroup, and get ready for the second half of the season. And that's going to do it for episode 79.
What about changes? Aren't we going to talk about changes?
Changes, yeah.
Well, I know you're trying to get us out of here, Jeremy, but
Never.
I'm interested in what Mark thinks they should do up front offensively.
Change-wise?
Yeah, I mean, Matt Williamson has been talking about putting James Daniels at center and Herbig at right guard.
I don't know. I mean, Herbig didn't impress me, didn't wow me, I would say, in his first game, right? So that could be just first game. However, I mean, if he gets called for getting his helmet ripped off, Kenny doesn't get hurt, and they might end up winning that game because he did get his helmet ripped off on that 3rd and 17 play. Should have been automatic first down, but who's counting? I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with Mason Cole. I think you need him as that, that center fielder, so to speak, that catcher, so to speak, to point out everything. I don't think it's too bad. I think you just need to get Seumalo playing like you paying him like $8-9 million, and I guess Dan Moore's walking around with a knee brace. If he can't go, I think Broderick Jones is going to have a tough couple of weeks to get up to speed. But I'm not a big James Daniel moving him to center guy. I would have to see it first. I mean, how many times has he ever played there? I mean, maybe his rookie year. I mean, I don't even recall in Chicago how much he's actually played center. So I don't see that coming. I mean, for a boring answer, they're just going to have to start playing better. Pat Meyer's going to have to pull out that magical dust he used last year and sprinkle it over him or something, right? I mean,
Broderick Jones looks like he gives up the inside move fairly quickly, and he looks like he knows it, and he overcompensates, and he's a little shaky out there right now. But I mean, we're looking for changes. The other change on the defensive front, I got to play Benton at nose tackle.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants Fehoko, but I don't know. I mean, he's very limited in what he can do unless you're looking for that 3rd and 1 plugger. I mean, you put him out there, then all of a sudden you're spreading the guys out, and all of a sudden he becomes a liability. I think that's why he hasn't played or haven't even dressed yet. So as for other changes, I mean, you mentioned it. I think they need to make a decision of what they want to do at safety too. Is it going to be Keanu O'Neal, or is it going to be DeMonte KZ? I'm not a big – or even a slot guy with Sullivan. Just pick one and go with it. I mean, I think that might be hurting him a little bit more. I would like to see, Minka just to play center field a little bit more as well. Maybe subtle changes like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit more Joey Porter. I can guarantee you one thing. They're not like handing the playbook over to Eddie Faulkner or Mike Sullivan on the other side. I can guarantee you that.
Well, is there anything that could be done offensive coordinator?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, honestly, you're not going to have 2 people call plays, right? That's just stupid, right? You can't. Unless you take the play calling away from him, then why is he even here? Then you have Mike Sullivan or Faulkner or whoever it is calling somebody else's scheme. It's just nothing makes sense.
I think they start doing what they did with Chuck Nolan in their 1968 season, is spend the year scouting. And the guy who comes to mind, I mean, one San Francisco guy after another keeps impressing us, like Houston's group of San Francisco guys. Brian Greasy is their quarterback coach. And Matt Cecil brought that up, and I've been thinking about Brian Greasy ever since. I think they ought to look deep into that guy.
Yeah, they might look at a guy like Leftwich too. I mean, I know he ended Tampa sorely or not very good, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the radar at the end of the season as well.
I know, but that sounds like another Tomlin buddy move. I can't. I mean, let's look hard at San Francisco first.
Maybe Art should jump in and make him hire Todd Haley back, right? You don't know what you got until he's gone, right? Everybody wants Haley back now, right?
Hey, I clamored for Arians to go. I mean, that was a huge mistake.
Bring Ray Sherman back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sadly, it does not look like there's going to be any changes made at that position until next season. Anything else as we wrap up here, guys?
Mark, what are you going to ask Tomlin?
I want to ask him about the potentially play calling, if he could split it up somehow, just to see the reaction. I know the answer is no. Like I said, that'd be like a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, the play calling's a thing. I mean, can you have a guy scheme an offense and have somebody else call the plays? Because maybe Canada schemes well, but just doesn't know how to call plays. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the scheming part, though.
Yeah, you're right. They screwed up last year. I mean, I thought they should have got rid of him last year. Now you're wasting Kenny Pickett year this year, and you're going to have him battling up your hill next year, trying to learn a new system. So I think then all of a sudden you have to make the decision whether you're going to make him your franchise quarterback. That's why I thought Canada should have went last year, but I don't make those decisions, Jim.
I don't know what else to say, Jeremy. I think Mark nailed that one, and I appreciate Mark you appearing with us. I know you got a busy day today.
Yeah, I'm here at the press conference right now. I'm the only one here, so a little bit before you guys tape this. So if Tomlin gives me a dart or two, you'll know why.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on the show, episode 79. And we will see you back here next week. We're, Jim, number 80. Can't believe it already. Hopefully we're discussing a Steelers win over the Ravens. You can check out Mark's work at The Athletic. We'll put a link in the show notes. Check out Jim's work at the Steel City Insider. Give Jim a follow on Twitter, or X, at Jim Wexell. Give me a follow at Steel Study. And we will see you back here next week for episode number 80 of the Steel City Insider podcast. Take care, everyone.